Good morning and welcome to Choice and Chance. My name is Bob. This is my sister Grace. And we're bringing you another episode of D&D Arena today. For those of you who don't know, D&D Arena is a battle simulation
game
that Grace and I came up with. The idea of it, though, is that we take level 20 characters and we duel them out in the arena. We did this for a couple of reasons. One, we never get to play level 20 characters at all. Two, we wanted to learn how to play a bunch of different characters, and we figured there's no better way than to learn. And three, we wanted to show that you could play D&D with two people and have a good time. With that, I think let's get right into it.
Should we roll to see who
introduces
their character first? Classic roll. Wow.
Is that a 1?
That is a 1.
All right.
Okay, alrighty, let's chuck this.
All right, so this week, my character's name is Goodfellow Grim.
Jesus Christ.
That was a good bark. This week, my character is Goodfellow Grim. He is a halfling bard. And I think I'm going to introduce a little differently this time. I want us to envision the Colosseum. And then you're going to see the portcullis doors, or the drawbridge doors, fall down. And you see, this is like, imagine you're in the spectator's point of view. The whole Colosseum is dark, and then a spotlight, like lights come out.
How much did he pay to get this?
This is good treatment. And as he's slowly walking up to the door, you just see a long shadow cast across the Colosseum, and you hear his footsteps. You can almost feel them tremble the entire Colosseum, every step. Until right before you can actually start to see him coming out of the door. And then there's a flash of light. He teleports right out into the middle. Spotlight straight on him. It's me, Goodfellow Grim! And he's just this. So like the dichotomy of these two, you hear like these ominous footsteps.
He looks like a big villain, like...
It's me, Goodfellow Grim! And he appears in the middle, and he goes, "You guys know what we're doing this time? What am I going to be today?" And it's like improv. So he starts taking things from the crowd. Someone's like, "Be a pirate, be a..." And he kind of just, he casts disguise self on each of the
So he
things.
turns into
them. And he does his performance like, "You think I should be a swashbuckler today?" And he's like, "No, this is level 20 arena. These are all too boring. Give me a better one." And someone says, "Be yourself." And he looks and he goes, "Be myself. What a great idea." And he claps, and then he's sitting there, and it's like a living room situated in the middle. He has his feet kicked up on an ottoman. He has his pipe out. He's smoking it. He's got a little brandy snifter. "Be myself. Don't mind if I do. But we need more. What am I doing today?" He starts taking suggestions, and someone's like, "Go to the pub." And he's like, "That sounds like a marvelous idea." And he gets up and he's like, "But there's bandits about." He puts his little pipe away and he goes, "Oh, that's fine." He grabs a hand axe. It's just sitting right next to his little fireplace, stuck into a log. "This will do." And he goes, "Oh, and a letter opener. That will do." And right before he gets out the door, he goes, "Oh, I might need something else." And he just picks up a handful of arrows and just puts them in his pocket. He goes, "I think that'll do me." And then he walks out and he walks it away. And then that's Goodfellow Grim.
So he's a regular at the arena.
Yeah, he's
like the comedic relief.
Yeah, so if we want to go into a little backstory, Goodfellow Grim was like a traveling entertainer. And then one day he was doing satire of a lord, so like making fun of him. Like,
Yeah,
because
like
he's a little, yeah, he's kind of like, and the lord,
Halfling.
oh jeez. That'll be censored.
Halfling.
Yeah, so yeah, he's doing like his gesture stuff. It ends, and the Lord gets really mad at him, and his thugs start chasing him, and they keep catching him up to him like end to end, but they can never like grab him. But they can get one of his instruments every time. So he like slowly was running out of instruments, and even buying new instruments, he couldn't afford to just keep buying new instruments all the time. So, thank you. Yes, you're a very good dog. He couldn't keep buying new instruments because he just wasn't making enough money.
Yeah.
So eventually he made his way to the capital city, thinking that he could finally get away, and he was down. He had nothing left, and so he found a gladiatorial arena and just started doing that. And now he's got all his weapons back, and he does like weekly performances, and he always makes sure to do the satire of that lord, like at some point every week. I'm a big shot now. You can't get me anymore.
Get me. We should start having you guys rate our backstory.
The backstories.
Belenda sits atop the Colosseum. She like sits on like the stand part, kind of on the roof. So she's like sitting up there, looking down at the Colosseum. And right now there's just a low-level fight going on. She's sitting and she's not quite paying attention to the fight. She sits and her eyes kind of rove around the Colosseum. Her eyes are going to the exits, both purposeful exits and exits that she could use in a pinch if she needed to get away. And as she's kind of roving the stadium, her eye lands on a visiting nobleman. And of course, this nobleman is like decked out to the nines, rings on every finger, huge like fur cape and like a huge pendant holding the cape on. And as she kind of looks at this nobleman, just through her head, she thinks of 3 or 4 different ways that she can rob him and take all of his pretty little shiny things from him. And as she's kind of like looking at him, she suddenly shakes her head. She's like, that's not what I'm here for. And she looks back at the fight. And she looks at this human who is fighting for his life against this half-orc. And as she looks at the human, she sees the brand on his cheek. And as she sees that brand, she recognizes it as the brand of a forced fighter, of someone who was sold into the arena to fight. And as she kind of looks at this fighter, she pulls her mask down from her face and she touches her cheek where the same brand sits on her cheek. And she kind of reminisces, and then she goes from touching the cheek with that brand on it to touching the other cheek where a different brand is branded on her face. And this is a brand of a banished high elf noble house. And she thinks back to her parents. She was very young at the time, and she thinks back to getting banished and the branding into her cheek. And in honesty, she was way too young to know what her parents did, but she knows that her parents put their grubby little hands in the high elf society cookie jar and got caught, and they were banished. She has no idea why, but she knows that her parents did something very wrong. And so her whole family was banished from high elf society. With nowhere else to go, her family showed up in the big city to try and make it there. But with the brand not only on her cheek and her parents' cheek, they couldn't get access to anything anywhere. So with nothing else to do, her parents took Belenda to the arena and sold her. And Belenda remembers so clearly sitting there as her parents haggle for her. And even though they didn't get as much money as they wanted, they still walked out with a bag of gold, never even looking back at Belenda. Her parents are gone. She's stuck in the arena. She's 16, maybe 17, high elf fighting for her life in the arena. She's very small, so she learns to become nimble and quick and hard to catch. And as she fights for her life, she wins, she loses, she even dies one time. Thank goodness she was worth reviving, otherwise she would be no more. And as she starts to get better and better, it's no longer a fight for survival. She starts winning more. She starts becoming higher and higher in the gladiator arena. So she starts to come up with a plan. It's not a very good plan, but nobody ever leaves the arena once you're forced to fight. You either leave by dying. Actually, that's it. You leave by dying. That's the only way you leave when you're a forced fighter in the arena. So she starts to think of a plan to get out of here. She doesn't want to fight in the arena forever. She wants to make her own way. She doesn't belong here. She didn't even want to come to the capital city. So a plan starts to form. And finally, one day she gets a chance to pull it off. And this plan involves her dying once more in the arena. She hopes that she is still worth reviving. And she takes a huge gamble, and she lets one of the contestants kill her dead. And she wakes up. Now there's a special room that the clerics take anybody who's revived. It's a room where they can watch you recover. Dying is traumatic to most people. But again, she's done this once. It wasn't the worst thing. So she wakes up in this small room. The only thing in this room is a cleric who's supposed to watch her recovering. It's a low-level cleric, easy to take care of. So, she knocks him out. She doesn't kill him. She just knocks him out. And then she has to take care of the chain that's around her ankle, which actually turns out to not be that difficult because she has been lockpicking in her spare time. So she picks the lock and gets out scot-free. And she's free for the first time in 10 years. But her freedom is not what she thought it was. She has 2 brands on her face, one of a forced fighter and one of a banished high elf. So she doesn't see where she can go, what she can do. And she comes across a thief who invites her to come meet the guild master. Well, the guild master doesn't care about what's on her face. The goal of a thief is to not be seen at all. So she joins the Thieves Guild and quickly starts ranking up. She was a fighter, she's nimble, she's small, she can get in and out of places. With a little bit of training, she becomes one of the best thieves. So she rises up through the ranks, escapes a few times, gets caught one time, but again, at this point, she's worth getting out of jail, so her guild gets her out. So she rises the ranks, always in the shadows. And as she sits there on the Colosseum roof, looking down at the arena, she can't help but think of Ben, her guild master, which, what a dumb name for a guild master. He's a thief, and his name is Ben. And she can't help but sigh at Ben. He'd been throwing around this idea of putting somebody in the level 20 arena fights just to kind of see. There's a huge cash prize out of it, so, might as well see. She never thought that he would follow through with it. And she never thought, when he followed through, that she would have to fight in the arena again. And she sighs and says, "Oh, Ben, you silly, silly man." Because she knows that Ben making her fight in the arena was the biggest mistake he'll ever make. Now, Belenda could have been guildmaster years and years ago. But, like her profession, she loves to work from the shadows. So right now, as she looks down on this arena fight, her plan to overthrow Ben and put somebody else in charge is just taking place. All she has to do is fight in the arena, and her plan will work out just fine. So she sighs, and she's just about to jump down into the arena when the lights go out. The drawbridge comes down and a spotlight shines. She watches this absolutely ridiculous performance put on by Goodfellow. And she sighs and says, the arena's not what it used to be, I guess. And she just steps down. She kind of jumps, hero lands, nobody's around her. And she makes her way towards the holding pen to fight in the arena for one more time.
You talk shit about my character and your backstory? Let's roll for initiative.
Nice. That's an 17.
Okay.
We both have a plus 5.
Dang.
Damn, Daniel. Okay, so after watching that ridiculous performance,
ridiculous performance.
Belenda sits in the little area before the gate opens. I think if you look closely, and nobody but the gate guy.
Are we doing another game where you're gonna hide and I'm gonna have to try to find you?
Before he's the only one who can really see her. But if you look very closely, her hand starts to tremble just a little bit.
Oh.
She looks like she has it all together. She's not showing any signs of it, but she is kind of having a little bit of a panic attack. She hasn't been in the arena since she was very young. It's been years. She's a high elf, so she can live forever.
Is it really forever?
No, it's not forever. It feels like forever, okay? As a human.
I don't think so.
I think it's 500 years. But she hasn't been in the arena for, maybe even 100 years. And she left that life behind her. But, she's seen much worse. She's done much worse. But there is just a little tremor to her hand. And the gate guy pulls the gate, and quick as lightning, she will dash.
So I do want to ask you something. I wanted to cast hallucinatory terrain to make this look like just like a city street, with this being the walls. It's a 10-minute casting time, so I was going to say that he was planning it and then he timed it
just right.
Right as it, because that's what he...
I'll say on your initiative, it'll take effect.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I did roll
your
initiative.
Okay. Well, all it would do is make this look like city streets instead of the Coliseum.
That's fine.
It was just more storytelling play, so that if
okay.
you walk out...
But I still think it's
okay.
on your initiative, it'll have taken effect.
Okay. I just wanted to see if that was cool.
Yeah, I think that, sure, why not?
Okay.
So it's a city street with walls around it?
Well, so these are
that's why you want
the edges of the buildings, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's little alleyways?
Yeah. That's fine by me. So the gate opens and she dashes.
This is going to be weird for you then.
5, 10, 15, 20. So those were 40 or 30? 40, 30, 20. So she's going to dash up 30 feet. So that would be 50, 55, 60. She wants to run and jump on this.